Okay, so welcome back to my channel. The last chapter that we ended off of, Home Before the Storm, I was looking for a home and looking for stability. I was misdirected or redirected from finding my stability to putting my stability in someone else's hands. So I moved into that music person's pool house. I also got a visit from a very high up person in Hollywood that I had to turn down as well. I left off telling you that I was going on vacation to Atlanta first, then New York, then to Normandy for New Year's Eve, and then for Berlin for a friend's birthday party. Chapter 1, I left off feeling looking for answers, feeling overwhelmed. I had a lot of people that were trying to be in my life. A lot of people thought that me winning Playboy meant something for them. So there was a lot of confusion and a lot of noise because people were like, so what does this mean for me? How is my life going to change? How does this make me feel? Who do you think you are? How does this look for the family? You know, where are you going with this? What's going on? Am I still going to be in your life? Like, there were so many messages, and people were so worried about me and my life and their place in my life after I won Playboy. It was just the craziest thing. It's almost like when they say, when you play your music loud enough, the devil hears it. It felt like that. And I left off chapter 1 feeling like I was running away from the devil. I was feeling very overwhelmed, and I felt like I was just spiraling, and I felt very lost. And at the time, I had nobody to talk to. I was going through something that none of my friends have ever been through before. I just didn't have anybody to talk to. Oh my gosh, that's all I can say. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Yeah, and everybody wanted to talk to me, but I was like, I need somebody to talk to too, and I just did not have that. So overwhelmed, and the people I did talk to, like, were, oh, that's what I meant to say. I needed somebody to talk to, and I had nobody to talk to. And the people that I was talking to or trying to get guidance from or something, that it was like the guidance that they were giving me was tearing down the things that I was trying to build. So I'm trying to hold on to these things I meticulously built for myself up until this point. And I had to be very meticulous about what I built in my career because it was just me. I didn't have a manager. I didn't have my parents. I didn't have, my brothers and sisters. Really, they didn't really know how to deal with what I was dealing with. So I didn't have a plan B. So I had to make sure that I meticulously built my career. And I built it up to this point where I got myself on the cover of a magazine. And right after that, it felt like so many people were coming into my life with suggestions. So many people were coming into my life with something to say. I had people calling me all day long. I had about 5 different people calling me every single day. It's like if you ever had my phone number, you were calling me at that time. So I was getting random texts from people, random calls from people, people demanding my energy, people trying to guilt me into giving them my energy, people, inviting me to their birthday party. If I say I can't go, it's like, oh my gosh, how dare you? I had people saying, I need your energy. I just want to be around you. Why won't you talk to me? You have to sign my mag. You have to. And it was just so overwhelming. And it felt, again, like I was trying to hold on to what I built, but people were just trying to grasp at it and pull it down. It's very, I don't know if it's like this now, but it's an interesting thing when your life takes off in a certain way. It's very, very interesting what people reveal about themselves and what you find out about why some people were actually in your life. I realized that there were a lot of people who were in my life just in case my dreams came true. They'd wanted to be there for the ride. I had people that were in my life but had no idea that I can actually pull something off. So now they're just looking kind of upset, you know? So it was just very, very overwhelming. That on top of me trying to figure out what my next move is, me having to physically move, me having to spiritually and emotionally move, me having to get my nervous system used to this new level, me trying to understand who I'm growing into. I was going through a lot of things and I just needed a little bit of guidance. So I was in a state of extreme anxiety. I was very much in shock. I was spiraling because I listened to someone about I made an error in my personal life that I didn't want to make. So I was spiraling in that regard. But I was happy. But I was happy that things still, I thought, were coming together. So I went to Atlanta, and Cousin Christmas was great. I spent Christmas with two of my girl cousins and two of my nieces who were also like in their late 20s at the time. That was nice. Then I went to New York, and by the time I got to New York, I was very alone. I was staying at a friend's Airbnb by myself, and that's when kind of everything caught up to me, and I was feeling, I can't describe to you how depressed I was feeling. I was feeling like I was dying. And I just, it was the first time in my life where God hadn't laid out this plan. He's always laid out a plan for me before, but like he didn't lay out this plan. So I was tripping out. I got a DM the night I landed in New York from this spiritual worker, but she's a model. She's a very, very famous model. I met her one time before this for an audition, and I remember us having like a cool talk. And then I hadn't seen her since, and that was probably like 5 years prior. So this model DMs me, and she says, Eugena, I have to tell you something very, very important. I had a dream about you last night, and God gave me a message for you, and he said I had to tell you, so give me a call. And she gave me her number. And I remember I was staying in Brooklyn at the time, and I was like near the Barclays Center, just walking outside trying to take my mind off of things. And I was so relieved to have someone that not only was a model, but it was a Black woman, and that was successful. That was like 10 steps ahead of me, that had something for me. So as soon as I got home, I called her. And this still is one of the most out of body experiences that I've had. One of the most, I don't know if this is a word or a phrase, but spiritually out of body experiences that I've had. Where's my chapstick? Yeah. Rose Crush. Yeah. So she said, Eugena, I saw you walking down the street in New York City, and you were looking for something. You were looking lost, but you had a home here, and it was a very nice home in Chelsea. You just couldn't find it. And the wind was blowing. You just looked very, very lost. Then you wandered into a diner, and I was sitting at the diner. She talking about herself. And you came and you sat across from me in the diner, and I showed you a Sports Illustrated magazine, and you were on the cover. And I was trying to give it to you, and you looked at it. And as soon as you looked at it, a bunch of women came and they walked into the diner, and they were talking loud, and they were speaking in a language that was not English, but it was a language that only you could understand. And as they walked in, it got louder and louder and louder. And I'm trying to get your attention and have you focus back on the Sports Illustrated. But then the women kept speaking louder and louder and louder. And she said that there was one top heavy woman that spoke the loudest and you listened to her the most. And what she said made sense, but it was getting in the way of what God was trying to tell you. And I kept trying to put your attention back to the Sports Illustrated, and you wouldn't take it. And I kept trying to give it to you, and you wouldn't take it. And you were listening to the women. And she said, God has something really, really big for you. You're supposed to travel around the world. Oh, what did she say? She said, modeling is going to take you all around the world, and you are going to inspire so many girls. She said, you are going to marry someone very powerful. She said, and you're meant to be in front of the camera. And this is a God thing. And nobody can mess this up. She said, this is a God thing, so it has to happen. And everything that you ever wanted is happening for you right now. She said, it's all happening for you right now. It's already laid out, and all you have to do is walk it out. She told me, stay in New York. Whatever you do, stay in New York. You're going to get with a really great agency. She said, they're not going to be a big agency. They're going to be like a kind of a small boutique agency, but they are going to take you everywhere you want to go. It's going to be, she said, God is doing something new in your life, not different, but new. So everything that you thought before is no longer. What God is doing is something new. And all you have to do is just walk it out. And so she told me, be happy, be grateful, eat something sweet. She was like, if you like cartoons, watch things that are gonna put you in your childlike state. And I said, well, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to Europe. And then I'm coming back, but I was like, I don't have my return ticket to LA, which I didn't for some reason. She said, perfect, that's exactly what God wanted. Go to Europe, come back, and stay in New York. And then God is gonna bring you to the people, or bring the people to you that are supposed to take you where you need to go. But just stay in New York. I was a crying, snotting mess during this phone call, because my whole career I was told what I couldn't do. Like, no one ever looked at me and said, oh, she has potential, let me guide her. It was more so like, oh, Eugena thinks she is somebody, let's stop her. So I had to go through a lot of windows. I had to create a lot of open windows for myself in order to get to where I was. And I finally got there, and even after getting Playmate of the Year, my agency was saying, well, we don't really know what to do with you from here, because you're too beautiful, you're too pretty, so no one's going to be able to relate to you, so we don't really know what to do. So I was just like, oh my gosh, what how am I supposed to do any of this, right? I just thought it was over for me. And for her to tell me, like, no, it's all happening for you the way God intended, I was just falling apart. I was just a mess, like, because she said stuff to me that I never told anybody. Like, I made it a rule not to tell anybody what I wanted to do in my career other than my agents, because, evil eye. And even with my agents, I didn't tell them a lot of times, because all they told me was no. So I just kept like these little secrets in my heart. And when I spoke to this model, this girl, this spiritual woman, she literally opened up my diary and read me everything. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. So after I got off the phone, I'll just say I went to sleep. Next, let's see. Next couple of days, or the next week or whatever, I was in Europe. Just so we know I was here. We're going to spend New Year's in a chateau in Normandy, and then we were gonna go to Berlin and spend my friend's birthday. I had just gotten this really intense spiritual message, but I was still trying to have fun and be present, even though I had this really heavy thing placed upon me. So I wanted to keep my spirit clean and really start getting in touch with myself, because I hadn't really started my healing journey at the time, and I was feeling pretty disconnected to my emotions. So I knew that in order to receive this blessing that's on my life, I wanted to get myself straight. I came back from vacation. I was still feeling a little lost, because my idea was to go back to LA and look for an apartment. But I actually landed back in New York, and I had a message to stay in New York. So I'm feeling a little shaky again. And my friend that I went to Berlin with, she let me stay at her house. And I just didn't know what to do after. I didn't know if I wanted to go back into modeling, because modeling had kind of hurt my feelings so much. I wanted to do my business. I had a makeup video go viral. And so it was like things were budding. Everything was at step one again. And I was at another crossroads and had to figure out what I was gonna do. So I remember again walking around New York, just trying to be alone, be with myself, like I knew I needed to be, but I was around all of these people in New York now, and I was like, I just need to be alone. So I walked around New York, and I was coming up on my friend's house, walking back to my friend's house that I was staying in. And this woman came up to me. She was a seer, and she said, hi, my name is April. I have a very important message from God from you. God has something he needs to tell you, and it's very important. You have a big future ahead of you, and you have a lot of good things coming, but there are certain things that you have to be aware of. So call me. My name is April. And I remember her name because my best friend's name is April. And I was like, what a coincidence that I don't know any other April in my life. I know a lot of people, but that was the first April I met. But I kind of didn't want to go see her. I was hesitant. I told my friend about it. She told me don't go see her. And I wasn't going to. But then the next day, I was like, I was curious. So I went to her, and one second. And it's interesting because me wandering around New York, oh my gosh, I'm kind of like just seeing it now. Me wandering around New York, not having a home and not knowing where to go, but knowing that I had a home there, that was literally the first part of that model's prophecy about my life. Because when I got back from Europe, I was definitely wandering around New York. I felt that I had a home there, but I just couldn't find it. And so this woman came up to me while I was looking, and she said, I have a word for you from God. You have a lot coming to you, but there are some things that you have to watch out for. So come and see me. I ended up going to see her, and she told me, very similar to what the model who had the prophetic word for me told me. She said that modeling is going to take you all around the world. You're going to inspire so many women. You're going to do very, very well. You have a lot of good things coming to you, but you have a lot of jealousy around you, and you have a lot of evil eye. And so I can pray on it and make you a package, or tell you what package or what things you need to do in order to stop the evil eye and stop the jealousy and let what God has for you come in. And so I said, okay. She told me to come back the next day. Do I admit this? Yes. She said it was gonna. No, I don't want to say that out loud. I'm not that mature. So, anyways, I came back the next day. She told me that there was a curse on my life from my dad's side. Someone did not like my mom and my dad being together. So they put a curse on him, but he bypassed it because my mom was there and it came through me. So she said, get a brand new white t-shirt, put in $1.50 worth of nickels for your good fortune. She said, put in sweet candy for like sweetness and something good to happen, to call into your life. She said, put rose petals for softness. Put something yellow for, I think, fortune. Whatever yellow symbolizes. She said, put rocks in for protection and something else. And I did it. I gathered all the things. And she said, ball them up. And salt. She said salt for, I think salt for protection too. She told me to ball them all up in the t-shirt, tie the t-shirt 4 ways or 2 ways, and put it under the place where I was sleeping. So I did. She said, over the next week, you're going to be glowing. People are going to be more and more attracted to you because they're going to see your light. And you're going to watch people notice you even more. That's how you know it's working. But you're also going to be tired because you've gone through a lot of spiritual warfare. And that is true. I went through a lot of spiritual warfare with people. She said, but give yourself grace and come back in a week. And it should be lifted. So I said, okay, I did that. I was walking around. People were noticing me. I did feel a lot better. The week passed and I came back. She told me to bring the package. She opened the package and looked at it. Looked through all the stuff. And she said, you still have something on you. I'll say a prayer tonight and I'll have you come back tomorrow. And that should eliminate, whatever dark energy you have. But she said it was going to cost me $9,000. She said if I want to get a credit card out, I can take out a credit card and pay her. She named all these different ways that I could pay her $9,000 for this. And I said no. So I left. Because it shifted. When she started talking about money, I was like, okay, this is shifting from like a divine spiritual message to manipulation. Now you're just manipulating me. And like I caught it as soon as she started talking about money. Like I can't eliminate the spirit unless you give me $9,000. So I just left and I ghosted her and I never came back. Right after that, I said, okay, I have to figure something out. The only thing I knew how to do to figure something out was to get an agency. I'm in New York, I'll get an agency. I told my agent in LA to submit me to agencies in New York. Only 2 came back, Wilhelmina and Women 360. My appointment to Wilhelmina was at 11 o'clock that day, and then Women 360 was at 1:30. I have a horrible sordid past with Wilhelmina. They don't like me, I don't like them, but they always call me into their office just to look at me so they can turn me down. So I wasn't really too open, and Wilhelmina's the people that told me that I was only, Wilhelmina is the agency that said, Eugena, everyone's here, you're down here. So I just don't, me and Wilhelmina don't get along, and we never have or will. So I go back to them. I was hesitant to go back to them, but I went back to them anyway because I was going to speak to another person. The person I spoke to was like, oh, congratulations on your Playboy. You're doing really, really great. We've been watching you type of shit. I told him everything I was working on and what I wanted to do. It took me, we sat for about 20 minutes talking, and then he was like, okay, we'll call you. And I walked out of there feeling like, these niggas, y'all weren't about to sign me. You just wanted to be in my business and see me again. You just wanted to see me again. That was it. And I went back home where I was staying, waiting for my Women 360 meeting. And my friend was there. She was a girl. And I told her I was about to go see Women 360 next. And she goes, well, Eugena, let me curb your expectations. Pull up women. And so we pulled up women, and she was like, see, they have Yara Shahidi. They have this model. They have that model. They have that model. So I'm just letting you know that's going to be hard for you to get into. And I said, well, it's Women 360. So, and she goes, well, that's a derivative of women. And women are the ones who are going to decide who goes to 360 or not. So I'm just letting you know it's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really hard. And by that time, I was so over fashion and rejection and modeling and doing my best, but still getting nothing, and just feeling like, man, this shit sucks, that I really, really didn't want to go. And then my friend telling me how hard it was going to be. It's going to be so hard, Eugena. I'm just telling you, it's going to be so hard. Her telling me it was going to be so hard on top of that, I was just kind of like, I don't want to go. And Women 360 actually is a medium-sized to smaller boutique agency. And I was just like, man, I don't want another rejection like that. Not that I was over it, but the rejection started to feel like, it started to lower my self-esteem. It started to make me feel worthless. And I was already anxious, overwhelmed, a little depressed, spiraling. I didn't want to add worthless onto it. I actually had a conversation with my friend Mateo about it. And he said, you should go. And I remember saying, I don't want to feel bad today. And he said, you should go. And I was just like, I'll think about it. And I thought about it, and I ended up not going. And he also said, we should get an apartment together. And because I didn't go to the agency, I didn't feel I had the money to go into an apartment with him, but I didn't know where the more money was coming from because I didn't go to the agency. And so I felt kind of really left out. I just felt like, wait a minute. I felt just all the way out of place. Just completely unstable is what I'm trying to say. I felt completely unstable. I felt just out in the world by myself. Fashion Week was coming up. I did a couple of days of Fashion Week. I was supposed to do this job with Bravo. It didn't go through. I was supposed to do this other job with E. It didn't go through. So jobs are not going through either. I wasn't getting into like the shows I wanted to get into. I wasn't getting into the events, and like those are things that push you forward. Back then, those are things that pushed you forward. They really meant something. So I was like, why is nothing? I just did this big thing. It's literally the big thing happening right here, and literally no motion moving forward, none. And the next day I called my mom, and I just said, Mom, nothing is working. Nothing is working. I tried everything and nothing is working. I don't know what I should do here. I just don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I was like, just that night, that dark night of the soul, when you're just like, fuck this, fuck everything. Like, this is not working. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not taking another L. Like, I'm trying way too hard. I'm not taking another L. Those nights, I was having one of those. And my mom said, you don't have to be a part of fashion. If they don't want you at your show, then you're not supposed to be there. You don't want to be a part of fashion. You're bigger than that. You don't want to be a part of them. You don't have to be, So why don't you just come to Atlanta? Why don't you just come to Atlanta? And it sounded like the sweet relief I needed when you're in the dark night of the soul, when you're looking for a way out and somebody gives it to you. why don't you just stop and come to Atlanta? And I did. That gave me such a big out and such a big relief. And the way she persuaded me to say, come down, work on your business, reset, refigure things out. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I booked the first flight out that evening. So I called my mom that morning, and by like 6 p.m., I was on the next flight out to Atlanta. And I will say this. When you are having moments when you're in the dark, when you're in a place where you're saying, fuck this, I hate this, I don't want to do this anymore, nothing is working, I just want to quit, I want to give up, fuck all of this, the person that you call in that place is one of the most important people to you. I now have a person that I call when I know I feel like quitting. I don't have those feelings anymore, but like I have a person that I can call, because you need a person that's going to say, listen, I don't know what your exact goals are. I don't know what your dream is, but I know that you've been working on something for the past 10 years. And I know that right before you give up, something big happens. So I know I hear you saying you don't want to do this anymore. I know I hear you saying that you don't want to try. Everything you try is not working. I know I hear you say that you're over it, but I'm just telling you that I don't want you to stop when you're at the verge of something. I don't know what's coming, but if things are falling apart, that statistically means things are falling back into place. So stay where you're at and do not give up and keep moving forward. That's the type of person that you need to call when you are in the places where you feel like you want to give up. For me, my person told me to stop and just move to Atlanta. And I did. In that moment, when it was dark for me, she gave me light. She gave me an escape, and I can understand that. But what I mean to say is, in those moments, you don't need light. You need strength. You need someone to push you forward. You need someone to encourage you. You need someone to tell you keep going. And I didn't know that I needed somebody to tell me that. It was my first time having one of those situations. It was my first dark night of the soul moment. And I needed strength, and I didn't get it. And what that moment taught me, not at the time, but now, it's about really just trusting yourself. Again, trusting yourself, trusting your timing. And things are going to materialize in the physical different than what you see in your head. But the feeling is going to be the same. So even when I reflect on saying I used to walk around New York when I got back from Europe because I didn't know where I was going, and I was confused and lost, but I knew I had a home there. I had a home there. That is literally the physical manifestation of what that model told me. I just was so lost I couldn't even recognize it. So have you ever had a moment where you feel like you were close to your breakthrough but you turned around? Or did you keep pushing forward, and what did that bring you? And in this chapter, I think the big thing that I needed to learn, or the big theme here, is discernment, distraction, and divine timing. So discernment about who is telling the truth and who is being manipulative within the first prophetic message and the second prophetic message. Discerning who was telling the truth, who was there for me, and who was just trying to manipulate me and use me. Distraction. Distraction with my friend who was sitting me down and telling me, this is how hard it's going to be. I'm just trying to curb your expectations and let you know it's going to be difficult for you to win. Also distraction with the woman who brought the second prophetic word. That was a distraction. She had me putting nickels and candy in a t-shirt, right? In divine timing. Everything was adding up. Everything was adding up. All you have to do is walk it through. Walk it out. Walk it through. That was it. It was all adding up. So, as we move forward through this story, these themes will keep coming up. Discernment, distraction, and divine timing. Like, share, follow, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.